Delighted to say that Japan's very own Luke Thompson joins me. How are you, Luke?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Very well. Let's start with the Irish connection then. For people at home who don't know, Blackrock College, you played club rugby with them back in the day.
Yeah, I came over in '99. Shows you how old I am. But straight out of high school, I came over and did an exchange with Blackrock College, and worked in the boarding school there as a boarding master there, and played for the club. And yeah, had a hell of a time.
In the press conference there, you were just saying that your favourite memory about Ireland is the people.
Yeah, I mean the people in Ireland were just so hospitable. Took me in, and we were just kids, but they, the people were just so nice to us and looked after us, and we had some amazing opportunities and stuff like that, and some lifelong friends. So we're really fortunate and had a great time.
Who would have played with you on that Blackrock team?
We played. I was under 20s at the stage, but we played. Guys that went on probably was Leo and Bob Casey were the two locks. They were more seniors though. They were a couple of years older.
Right.
There was a few other guys in the senior club at the time that were doing really well. Geez, it's a long time ago now. We're talking there 20 years ago.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah. But there was some good guys and some good coaches, and yeah.
How different was that rugby culture at the time to what you'd been used to at the very other end of the world?
It wasn't that different, to be honest.
Right.
Like bit of different weather but no, it wasn't a hell of a lot different. It was a real good club community at Blackrock, and they took us in really well, and the Tuesday, Thursday trainings or whatever it was, and it's similar to club rugby back in New Zealand. It was a good piece of home, and rugby guys are the same here in Japan. Rugby guys, speak a different language or different backgrounds, but seem to be able to get on. Have the same sort of interests and the same sort of goals quite often. So seem to be able to get on pretty well, and it's quite amazing how small the world can become through sport.
It is, really. Is it some place you'd like to go back to one day if you're interested in coaching or something like that, to go back to Ireland?
I definitely will go back to Ireland. I don't know about as a coach, but definitely not as a player. But no, it's just as a catch up. So many friends and stuff there. So yeah, we'll definitely go back there. Hopefully take the family back at some stage.
I should say, for anybody who's not going to hear our content from the press conference, Luke, you must be one of the only not Japanese-born players. I'd say you probably got the best Japanese of all the non-Japanese-born players. You were speaking in fluent Japanese throughout the press conference there. How long did that take to get up and running with and to get comfortable with in a conversational sense?
Japanese is a very difficult language, and I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I can get by. In terms of non-born Japanese, then I wouldn't be the best at all.
Right.
We've got boys that have been here since university or high school, even fully immersed in the culture, and they speak far better Japanese than I do. Some of the younger guys that are just cutting their way in Japan, your Lappies or Wimpy there, like they're still learning their Japanese, and languages come better to some guys than others, but within sort of 3 or 4 years, you can sort of start to get yourself your point across, and you can order a beer or get some food at the pub, or just whatever the essentials are.
Yeah. What drew you to Japan in the first place?
I was in Canterbury and got not squeezed out. I was competing against some pretty good players. There was Chris Jack and Brad Thorne and Reuben Thorne and these guys, and I was 21, and so there was no opening for me there. And the Canterbury Union had a relationship with Sanyo, the team here in Japan, and they said, "Do you want to go over for a year or two, train as a professional, and then come back?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? Give it a go," and never went back.
Was that because you fell in love with the place? Was it because you were actually really growing as a rugby player, or was it just a multitude of reasons?
Yeah, it wouldn't be one thing alone, but loved it here. It would have been very difficult to go back, and New Zealand moves on very quick. Probably Ireland's the same. Like there's always a new star coming through, or there's new players coming through. So to go back to New Zealand and start again, and I wouldn't be able to go back as a professional. I'd have to go back and work my way back into it, and it was an easy enough decision to stay in Japan, and it was difficult and easy at the same time. Staying away from home is a hard thing, but being able to play rugby for money, I was living the dream.
Yeah.
And so to be able to continue on doing that, and had other doors opening for us, so it was a great choice, and one I'm really glad that I was fortunate enough to be presented with.
What have you seen in Japan over the past 12 years or so in terms of the sport of rugby, in terms of the growth of the sport of rugby?
The sport has, in the last few years, after the last World Cup, the sport really took off in terms of popularity. It sort of flattened out a bit in the last couple of years. Before that, it's sort of been pretty steady. The popularity, I wouldn't say it's been booming or anything, but the level of play, I think's improved a lot. The physicality around the play and the boys' ability to compete. The Sunwolves was really good, brought a new level of competition and also excitement, for fans to be involved with a team that was not company based and it was more like a region that people could get in behind it based on not on where they worked or anything like that. It was more on was a Tokyo team or was a Japan team.
Sure.
So that was really good for Japan rugby. I wouldn't say the rugby, the popularity has increased hugely, but I'd say it hasn't declined either, and hopefully, hopefully this World Cup does wonders for improving the exposure and the fan base and young players coming through.
Do you and your teammates get stopped on the street outside of match days?
Some guys do, and some don't. There's some guys in our team. Michael Leach, he's a household name now. He's all over the TV, and some guys are pretty famous in their home areas. A lot of guys are. Goromaru from the last World Cup, he's ridiculously famous now in Japan. It's a numbers game too here. Like New Zealand or Ireland are the small places, but
True.
so whereas here you're
Can hide.
very much so. 120 odd million people. That's it's hard to get cut through right through to everyone. And sports stars. There's so many different sports and stuff. So if you're not baseball or sumo or something like that, then it's hard to really be a superstar. But to a small degree, yeah. And the last World Cup, as I said earlier, it really increased the profile of the sport in the last 4 years. So there's been a few guys that have get a wee bit of stop.
Was 2015 the highlight
Of
your time in Japan so far, being involved with Japanese rugby, I guess?
it was an amazing experience. It was some amazing results, and it's a really good experience. I'm hoping it hasn't peaked yet though. We've got a few more highs to come, especially in the next few weeks.
What did that do for the confidence of the place, the players, the squad, the people who perhaps had implicitly, I guess, kind of relegated themselves to a tier below the likes of South Africa? What did that result do in 2015 for the bunch of players that were in that squad?
I think it just reinforced the fact that the hard work we'd done was paying off and gave belief to what we were doing. We'd trained so hard, and Eddie had told us every day, this is what will happen if you do this. And to see it come out on the field was great. So it gave us belief, and it also put a challenge in front of us. In 2015, we beating South Africa and then going out and losing to Samoa and America would have been almost a waste.
Sure.
To give credibility to that win, we had to back it up. And playing Scotland 4 days later was tough. And that was. But there's no excuses there. We knew what the draw was, and that was what it was. But to go back out and beat Samoa and then beat America in that tournament and only just miss out on the quarters was disappointing to miss out, but also was a really huge highlight for my career to this point.
How can you take the positivity from that moment and bring it into this game against Ireland and also against Scotland, who'd be higher ranked as well in your final pool game?
Yeah, it's very hard
Sure.
to do to relate anything like that, because different teams. 4 years is a long time in rugby. Everyone moves on. You ask the Irish fans. 4 weeks ago losing to England, and there was huge questions and marks being asked about the Irish team and everything. And now, they're number one rank in the world, and they're in great form. So, 4 years ago is a long time. It's a different squad and a different team. So, but in saying that, the ability to compete with the Tier 1 nation, that's what we want to do. We want to compete with Tier 1 nations and put ourselves in a position to win. And you look at Uruguay yesterday, and you never write any team off in this competition.
That's for sure. How will you go about competing with Ireland this weekend? What are the areas you'll be looking at to target?
We've got to stop them physically. They've got a big pack, and they're big, strong, loose forwards, and they're very well organised, and so they can hang on to the ball for long phases, and for us to stop that or to compete with them, we have to be able to get the ball back.
Just a final question, Luke. The fourth World Cup thing, it's something that Rory Best has been speaking about as well. How does the body feel, and how annoyed are you when people constantly ask you about your age?
I'm lucky to be able to still be able to play at this level. Touch wood, I haven't had any major injuries and can carry on. But it's a great honour to be able to play in a World Cup once, so let alone 4 times. It's a huge honour. So just looking forward to it.
Well, very best of luck on Saturday. Great catching up with you, and I'm sure everybody back in Blackrock in Ireland wishes you well. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much. Cheers.